So it's always a good idea to ask for the truth of what's happening as any trigger experience unfolds in the moment. And sometimes we're a little bit verklempt and we necessarily can't pull ourselves together enough to ask in the moment, but we can take it into a self-reflective process. Now, what I discovered many, many years ago was my reaction time and my time to go through all of this information. I would have an experience trigger, and 2 weeks later, I'd have the aha. And then eventually it was I'd have a trigger experience, and a week later, I'd have the aha. And then it was a day later. And then it was a couple of hours later. And then it was a few minutes later. And now it's more or less, instantaneous. So that will give you some sense of how you can change your relationship to time as you change your angles of perception and your availability to be in a neutral, open, and engaging relationship to information. So our angle of perception shifts when we gain charge. Our relationships shift when we gain charge. And change happens when we gain charge and know what to do with it. This is an example of when you can go into a trigger experience and you lose electromagnetic charge. It's still a co-creative experience. It still involves emotion. You may or may not be able to observe. You may be drawn into reaction. And then your choices, usually when we go into reaction, our choices shift immediately into the duality frame, where it's going to be either this or that. It's going to be you or me. It's going to be us or them. And when we lose electromagnetic charge in that way, the mind takes over, and instead of healing the pain body, we are contributing to the pain body. And we then can manifest offense. Okay, so this is I wanted to give you a visual of what it can look like when you have a fence that's been constructed. So we're gonna go around the dial. There's the trigger. And then one of the responses to the trigger may be anxiety. It may be a compulsive behavior. It may be an inappropriate or an emotion that is used inappropriately. Anger is a perfectly appropriate emotion, but when we use it inappropriately and we allow our anger to push us into destructive behaviors, that's a different story. We can move into addiction. Addiction it's the drug of choice. It could be TV, it could be sleeping, it could be tuning out, it could be going shopping, there are all kinds of behaviors that we need to really be aware of that are addictive behaviors. And the question is, what is the addiction to? The addiction is to a substitute experience of high rather than having the experience of gaining life charge. Okay, so we get high instead of getting expanded, more life force. And it's interesting because people who become addicted to substances and get high and then have to get high and then have to get high again, they do bring in some biochemical reactions into their cells and into their DNA relationships that mimics electromagnetic charge, but that's not what it really is. Therein lies the problem. Now, we can also produce wasted time, money, and energy. And if we do this long enough and strong enough, we will co-create a breakdown. And when we co-create a breakdown, we may at least get some relief. And the relief may be just that we get real with ourselves. You're creating fence after fence after fence, narrative after story that justifies why you are living in this little tiny band of frequency. I need you to see this. I need you to understand what it is. Okay. So this is how we construct faulty wiring neurologically and fences psychologically, emotionally, and energetically. So the previous diagram lists many of the possible means of short-circuiting the electromagnetic flow that is your life force finding its way through and in and out of your body-mind, fully available to all of who you are. Every red arrow in that diagram is the equivalent to a short circuit through which you are sabotaging your life purpose, probably shortening your lifespan, diminishing the quality of your life and the quality of your relationships. And eventually you literally have no charge left with which to consciously co-create your life purpose. So co-creation is about being in charge. It is not about being in control. Okay? It's about not being in control. Co-creation is about being powerful. It is not about having power over anything or anyone. So along the way, as we sort this out, we get the opportunity to choose being loving over being right. And then we go into the heart flow experience where our heart is now starting to manage the flow of our trigger experiences, and we gain charge and gain and gain and gain. Our electromagnetic fields become full. We're able to literally, like an orchestra conductor, be part of co-creating a beautiful creation of an experience. And we can do many of these big, small, little micro moments during the day to a wonderful event that we may work days, months, or even years to complete.